All right, good morning and welcome back to episode 9 of the Saturday Morning Stoa. Today's theme is going to be wisdom is repetition, which is going to be about knowledge becomes wisdom through disciplined repetition, not inspiration. Now, before we get into that, as always, we're going to do our check-in from last week's challenge, and that was 3 days of physical ownership. And before we get into that, this wasn't about hitting PRs. It wasn't about training perfectly. It was about keeping a promise to yourself. And that was the main thing that I was focused on when I was doing it as well. Keeping that promise to myself day in, day out for those 3 days. And, for you, Tristan, what did you hit all those 3 days? And if not, what kind of resistance came up? And, what did you learn about yourself through those 3 days?
I didn't do 3 days in a row, but I did do 3 days.
Yeah.
I took yesterday off, not intentionally. It's just like kind of just lost track. But it's like I don't know. I guess I just lose track of things and I don't get things done, and then it's like too late to do things. And I don't know. That's something I got to work on.
Yeah.
Blocking my time and being really disciplined and get that stuff done during those times and all that is something I'm really going to work on the second half of the year.
Good.
But I'm proud of myself for doing exercise. And yeah, I went out this morning to up and down the mountain just to get that in.
Awesome.
So I'm really tired, but I do plan on doing another workout later, uh,
Good.
a weights
Absolutely,
workout.
man.
So yeah, I'm proud of it. One thing I do notice is that like I've been on and off working out for a long time, and what a mistake I make and a lot of people make is they go too hard too fast when they're getting back into it.
Yep.
And so you get sore for like 3 or 4 days, and then you lose that momentum already. So take it easy, do things slowly. You don't have to go hard right away. Just kind of build up
Yeah.
slowly. And the way I look at it is like I want to work out intense enough so I do something, but also make sure that I can do something the next day, you know, so that I don't have to take days off to rest unless it's absolutely required.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, man. And that's a good point, right? Like it's not just go super hard, then you're going to be sore and you're not going to want to work out. It's all about consistency. And that's exactly what I did with my 3 days of running. I wanted to challenge myself to running. I really enjoyed it in the past. And one thing you brought up about, consistency and tracking things. Honestly, man, what I do, and it's so simple, I always put a reminder in my phone, an alarm goes off when I know I'm going to be home. And before I even step through the door, I'll do that one activity. Now, it's going to be different for everyone, right? You may have different time, free time in different areas of your day, but I always just put an alarm on my phone. I did it for those 3 days. It was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 6:30 p.m., go for a run. And it's just that little, now it's automated where it's just as long as I see that alarm, commit to it, then I'm good to go. And you're absolutely right, though. I wanted to go for runs. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for as long as I can. I'm like, no, 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 that's not the point of this. The point is getting back into a habit that you enjoyed, having ownership over your body and committing to something that you promised yourself. And that's what I did. I just said, I'm going to do some barefoot running in the backyard. And I just did laps back and forth for an undetermined amount of time. Felt good, got a sweat on, did some stretching. Said, all right, cool, I'm done. So it's just, again, about consistency, not about going crazy and, hurting yourself because then you're going to be back to feeling bad about yourself or, oh, no, now I can't work out. You're going to get lazy and then you stop that momentum,
Hmm.
what you're trying to do, right? So. No, excellent. Yeah, I think it's good to do those every once in a while. Even I like the kind of 3 day thing. I think anybody can do anything for 3 days. Just commit to those 3 days, get it done. If there's some learnings, great. If you feel good, if you feel bad, have some learnings there, implement them, and move on. But again, it's not about perfection. It's about getting those repetitions in. So jumping into the theme, which is wisdom is repetition. You know, I think the main thing here, a lot of people, we have tons of information, tons of information. We don't need more information. What we need is implementation. And that's a big thing. I know for myself, I know for yourself, we have all the information at our fingertips, but a lot of times it's paralysis by overanalysis. We just have too much information coming in and we're not doing enough with the information that we have. And that's something I really want to focus on today. And today's theme is simple, but it's brutal. Wisdom is found in knowing something. It's not found in knowing something. It's found in doing it. And it's over and over again, especially when it gets hard, especially when it gets boring. I could ask you right now, like, do you know what you need to do for the second half of the year to, change your life, to get to that other place with your business or with your personal life? Nine times,
Very likely. Yeah.
yeah, you would know exactly what you need to do, and myself included, right? It's like, so, okay, we know the information, we know what we need to do. Now let's back it up. Okay, well, what do we need to do to get to that point? And that's where that repetition comes in. For me, I know it's, building this community, it's getting more content out, spreading the word, getting to a larger audience. That's if I just did that one thing for the rest of the year and I just focused solely on that one thing, I guarantee you by the end of the year, this community would be massive. We'd be looking at a totally different community. And that's going to be my focus for the second half of the years. Tons of content, reaching more audiences, bringing more people in. And that comes with a whole other slew of things to do. But it's, we already know what we need to do to better our lives, whether it's relationship, whether it's health, whether it's our finances, whether it's our business. We know what we need to do, but we need to make sure we put those reps in and do it consistently over and over and over again, even when it's boring, even when it's hard. So that's one of the things I want us to really focus on moving into the second half of the year. And I got two really good quotes from some past Stoics. So one thing as well is, Marcus, he didn't write meditations and just move on. Have you read meditations from Marcus Aurelius?
Yep.
Yeah, so that was his like day-to-day journal, whether he was the emperor, he was in war, or he was dealing with a famine and a plague. That was his day-to-day journal, and he wrote the same practices over and over again, day after day, because he knew that repetition sharpens memory and memory shapes your actions. And that's why I think it's very important to have some sort of a journaling practice and being consistent with it, because it always just it sharpens that mind and it gets you focused on what you need to do on a daily basis. And another one from Seneca, he said here, I'm going to read it so I don't get it wrong. You must keep your mind taut. It slackens with ease. That's what repetition does. It tightens your grip on who you're becoming. And I think that's such an easy thing to overlook, right? Is keeping that mind sharp. It's so easy for all of us to fall into bad habits, to fall into bad practices, and then we lacken up, we loosen up, right? We slow down, we become lazy, we become lethargic. Whereas if we're starting to do these good practices like our daily journals, keeping promises to ourselves, getting some physical exercise, we become sharp in pretty much every aspect of our life. So I think that's a really good thing to remember is, making sure you're keeping that mind sharp by doing those daily practices and making sure you're putting your repetitions in. And I think that a lot of people would think that repetition is a punishment, right? Like, oh, I have to do this every single day. But it's really not. It's about practice. It's about proof, and it's about building that man that you want to become. And I think that's what we need to get. We just have to disconnect repetition with being some sort of a punishment. And a lot of people say, "Oh, that's a very boring life," but I could disagree for sure. Like, I think repetition is, the key to having a well balanced and fulfilling life, as long as you're sticking to the repetitions that make you that man that you want to become. And that's something that we should really focus on. So, kind of going back to the question before, but what's something that if you changed right now, or if you did right now every single day for the rest of the year, would change your life? Do you know what that is?
Well, there's a lot of things.
So just if you had to pick one, right? If it,
Right.
let's say it was for your physical health, what would be that one thing that you'd have to do?
I would say some kind of like bodybuilding, weightlifting, daily workout.
Hmm? Right? So you already know what it is that you need to do. Now, if I ask you about for your business, what would be that one thing for your business that you would need to do to completely change it?
In this phase, it would be mass content creation,
Yeah. So you and I are pretty much in the same spot, right? It's that content creation, attracting a new audience, bringing in more clients
bring
to
in
your
leads.
community,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's really important to think about is especially when you're talking about philosophy and stoicism, it's easy to get buried in the minutia of the different terms and the different terminologies and the different philosophies. But at the end of the day, it's we know what we need to do. We just need to execute on it. And that's the main thing, right? You can ask me the same thing. What do I need to do for my business, for my relationships, for my health, right? For my spiritual health, for my mental health. We know what we need to do. It's the act of actually doing those things that we need to focus on, right? So this week, what I want us to do, and it ties in right what we're talking about, but we're going to pick one thing, and it could be in any aspect of your life, right? It could be health, business, relationships. We're going to pick that one thing, and we're going to commit to it every single day. And for myself, it's going to be hard, but I know that I'm going to commit to making either short form or long form content 5 days a week this week. I've already committed to it. I'm going to do it every single day, Monday to Friday, post them all out. And what that's doing as well is it's casting votes as to, hey, I can actually do this. Yeah, it might be hard at first because you're learning new things, you're using new tools, but then after a while, it becomes second nature. Now you can pump out these videos quickly, right? You can script the videos, shoot the videos, edit them, post them, and a lot quicker of a time, which comes with repetition. So that's going to be basically our challenge for this week. Is going to be about, let's focus on one thing, commit to it for those 5 days, and then we're going to report back on next Saturday morning Stoa. And one thing I want you to do as well, Tristan, is, and I'm going to be doing the same thing. I want us to focus on adding it to the community. It could be a day one, day two, day three, day four, day five. Post in what you did, what you learned about it, and your plan for the next day. That's going to help keep both of us accountable. And you know what? We may not post a video one day or whatever the case will be. Admitting to it, it's not about having blame here. It's about, hey, owning up to your actions, making sure that you're committing to that and becoming that man that you want to be. That sound fair?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So I wanted to kind of leave the back end of the meeting kind of open a little bit for some discussion. And I wanted to kind of hear your thoughts, Tristan, if you had any thoughts about, what you've been learning here or the community or what you want to see moving forward. Is there anything that sticks out that you'd like to see moving forward?
Um,
I know I kind of put you on the spot there, but
I don't know. It's hard to say. Just a weekly call like this is fine. Just to talk about something specific. What? Uh, yeah, I don't know anything specific really.
no,
No.
that's fair. One thing I wanted to ask you about is, bringing on new clients or getting new clients to your community. What did you notice was the biggest thing that helped you, basically spread your word and get people to come into your community?
Um, it well, you need to understand who you're looking for,
Yep.
and you need to know where they are now and where they want to be. So, in your case, you want men, you don't care about women, that's fine. And then you want men who actually want to improve themselves.
Yes.
But what does that look like though, right? Like, men don't walk around usually thinking, man, I just want to become a high value man, right?
Yeah.
They think more like the problem phase, like, man, I hate watching adult videos every day. I don't know why I'm so addicted. How do I get over this?
Yeah.
Or like I'm so sick of this. I wish I had control over my life. This is the thing that's going to speak to them. So you need to understand what they're saying to themselves.
So
What
offer
keeps
clarity, basically.
Yeah, like if when you put out content or ads that speak to what they're actually thinking, they are going to be like, "Hey, what is this? I'm going to read it," and they're going to assume that you are an expert that can help them.
Yeah.
So, and then you have to figure out where they want to be. And so you need to have an offer that can get them there. And then, what was the question?
No, but basically that's it, right? How do you get people
Oh
to
yeah,
the
yeah.
community?
You have to find them. So you need to pick a channel. So usually it's social media. Some people you can go door to door and knock on doors or cold call. It doesn't matter what they do,
Yeah.
but those are not very fun. But
No.
typically,
I've done that before.
yeah, social media is more fun
Yeah.
and easier. And then you have to understand how do you get leads on your social media. So Facebook and LinkedIn, you do it through sending friends or connection requests,
Mhm.
which is very easy because you could just search for men and hopefully find men who look normal. You know,
Yeah.
LinkedIn has higher quality people than Facebook for sure.
Yeah.
And then Instagram, you can't really do that because it's not the same, right?
True. Yeah.
Uh, Instagram works really well if you're paying for ads, but
Mhm.
not if you're doing organic. And then TikTok, I don't know, I don't use it.
Yeah.
YouTube's great as well, because there's a high traffic potential on YouTube.
Yeah.
But obviously, you're probably going to start off small and get like 10 views on your videos. But then if you're putting stuff out there, eventually it's going to catch on. And then
Yeah.
don't
I've
forget,
actually noticed that with our videos. I post our Saturday morning Stoa into my YouTube channel.
Hmm.
and I could slowly see the number starting to increase
Yeah.
on every single video. And what I've done also is there's certain parts of the of our meetings where there's different little tidbits of information or knowledge, and I've turned those into short form clips, and I put those on, and right away they've got 1,000 views, 2,000 views.
Hmm.
So I know that I'm increasing exposure there. So that's what I've been consistently doing. But yeah, I was just curious as to what you've seen work in the past. I'm
Yeah.
always open for new opportunities.
I think most people are passive, so they just think people will show up if you have a profile. But no, you have to go out there and get leads. And so if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, you need to add friends or connections every day.
Mhm.
And there's limitations on there, but you can just do the maximum. So LinkedIn's 200 connections a week. Facebook is about 40 friends a day. And
Okay.
then otherwise on Instagram, YouTube, I don't know TikTok, but you just put out content and hope because I mean, what else can you do, right?
Yeah.
You can't directly connect with people. That's why there's limitations there, right?
Yeah.
Like on Instagram, you can have 10 posts a day and not get anything good because they're just random people seeing it. So,
True. True. Yeah.
um, YouTube's a bit better. But if you really want, in your case, I would recommend LinkedIn, honestly. And
Yeah. I've actually never tried like I have LinkedIn for other like for my other businesses, but never for the community business. So I think that'd be a great idea.
yeah, go on LinkedIn, add 100 connections on Monday, 100 connections on Tuesday,
Yeah.
and then copy paste your school post onto LinkedIn.
Okay.
And then every time you post on LinkedIn, have a call to action at the bottom that says comment below something, or if you want something, comment below, right? Like
Yeah.
what is your experience? Comment below. Or do you agree with me? If not, comment below. Or do
I
you want
like
my
that.
free PDF? Comment below. Always
Mhm.
say comment below. LinkedIn, every comment really pushes your post out there.
Right.
Likes do push your post out there, but not nearly as much as a comment. So
Makes
do
sense.
whatever
More
you can to get
engagement, right?
comments. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can send about 900 connections a month, 200 a week on average. And
Okay.
so about 120 to 300 maybe if you're lucky, will say yes
Yeah.
per month.
Not too
Um,
bad, actually.
I track this stuff too, right? Like
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's
And,
awesome. That's good.
as- and so in your case, you want to search for I don't know, I would probably stick with the United States for now and just
Yeah.
look for men. And then yeah, add connection, add connection. And then yeah, post every day. If you do the bare minimum, just add connections, you'll get about 120 to 200 a month. If you post content every day, you're going to get more and more.
Right.
And and I recommend you do not add connections who are non-potential clients.
Right.
So if
Yeah.
women start saying, "Hey, women connection request,"
Yeah.
just ignore it and make her follow you or something
Yeah. That makes
because it
sense.
pays off in the long run. You can have infinite followers and you can have 30,000 connections.
Yeah.
But it might not be a bad idea to connect with high power people who could collaborate with you in the future.
Okay.
But yeah. And then yeah, just do that and you'll end up getting thousands of people in a year and always direct them to your school group.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean it's just another marketing channel. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
it's like the basic idea is attract, convert, deliver, right? So you attract the right people to whatever channel it is, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Every channel has pros and cons. You might have to do ads, you might be able to do organic.
Yeah.
Then the conversion process is just your content. Do you have this problem? I can help you with the solution. Comment below if you're interested, basically.
Love
Or
it.
does this sound like you? Do you want to be like this? Comment below and I'll send you a free resource on how you can do it in 3 easy steps,
Yeah.
right? And then you take those comments, go to your DMs, doesn't matter the platform.
Yeah.
Obviously, YouTube doesn't have DMs, but you can do the same thing essentially. And then you start having conversations. So, why are you interested in this? Oh, I liked your comment. Please explain to me more about what you're thinking. Whatever, whatever. Start
Yeah.
asking questions. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? What's stopping you from getting there? Are you looking for help? If you're looking for help, hey, let's jump on a phone call. Maybe I can help you and get to know your right, and then you get a
Yeah.
client, basically. So that's how you do it. I mean, that's a $10,000 coaching program right there.
Love it. Love it. Man, I love picking your brain straight from the professor. That's awesome, Tristan. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then you've seen pretty good results doing that with your own community, hey, and with your own business.
Yeah, I get results, but you only get results if you do it,
Yeah. Well,
right?
exactly. And that's pretty much what we talked about today, right? Putting
Yeah,
the repetitions
yeah.
in.
I mean, that's literally if you added 200 connections a week on LinkedIn and you posted once per day and you had some kind of offer to give people
Mhm.
and you went through all your DMs every day, I mean, you would have clients within a few weeks probably.
Yeah,
Obviously, you're starting from maybe zero from LinkedIn, which is not a bad thing, but just get going. It might take you a 2 or 3 months to kind of build up a bit,
for sure.
but you like, yeah. And then once in a while, invite people to your school group to get, you have to give them incentives, right?
For sure. Yeah.
So like, come to my school group if you want to join my call. The link is in the calendar, or come to the school group. I just made a free course called whatever it's called,
Yeah.
to help you go from here to here. If you want it, comment below and I'll send you the link and send it to the school link, right?
Love it.
And then stuff like that. And then have a conversation. So why are you interested in this course? What are you looking for specifically? Are you looking for help? Hey, let's jump on a phone call.
I like
Right.
that. Yeah, having those actual conversations with people. I think that's huge, and that's really what the community is all about, right?
Yeah.
Having
And
conversations,
then
learning from each other.
yeah. And LinkedIn also has articles and newsletters, which are also just more touch points.
Mhm.
And I don't know. But yeah, just
Well, I
you
know
just
what
gotta
I'm
do
doing
something.
today.
Most people are just like, if I like my coach told me, or I saw a YouTube video and they told me just to make a post every day. So I'm posting every day, but it's like,
Mhm.
well, who's seeing that post, right?
Exactly.
You need to have an audience to see your post. Those are
Yep.
your connections or your subscribers, and they have to be the right people.
That's right.
So in the photography world, um, 99% of photographers' audience is other photographers, right?
Yeah.
And they're not clients, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got 1,000 followers. I'm not getting any clients on Instagram. Well, let me look at your followers.
Yeah, they're all
Photographer,
photographers.
photographer, photographer, photographer. I'm not get, so I mean, it's not rocket science. Like
No.
you don't have to pay someone thousands of dollars. Like these are not the right people. Get the right people, right?
Yeah.
So, that's why I have a second Facebook account that I just add portrait photographers. That's it. I don't want anyone else.
Okay.
Those are my audience. On
Yeah.
LinkedIn, I search by photography, connection, 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 right? I don't care about
Smart.
anyone else.
Yeah.
But in your case, it's men. It's more generic, but maybe you can search for certain kinds of men,
Yeah.
like
Self-improvement
CEOs,
groups or
entrepreneurs.
stoicism entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Yeah, because entrepreneurs, their mindset is much more about self-improvement,
Yeah.
and their success is determined or based on their mindset,
Yeah.
right? But an employee is a lot different than an entrepreneur in terms of mindset.
Sure.
You can rise up the ranks without anything and they don't care so much. I just want a paycheck, right?
Yeah.
But an entrepreneur is like, I want to be the best. I want to get more money. How do I improve my performance, right?
Yeah.
That's your client, right? Entrepreneurs, business owners, self-employed, those are like the keywords to search for. Probably stick with the United States.
Yeah.
And then Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand or something.
Okay.
But USA is probably the best.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's more in line with the mentality there for sure.
And then, well, mainly right now they have more money.
Yeah.
Canada's
Yeah.
and UK and all these other British countries are run by certain kinds of people who are
Yes.
pushing an agenda very quickly, and our currency is being destroyed, and living expenses are high, whereas the
Oh,
United States is still low, right?
yeah.
So,
Well, we know how high living expenses are being here in BC, so
mhm. Yeah, so get in the United States and then charge in US dollars and then get Stripe in US dollars.
yeah.
Do you have a Wise account? Wise.com.
I don't have Wise. I have Stripe though.
Get Wise.com.
Wise.
Um, Set up an account there. It might cost you $30, 35.
Yeah.
And they'll ship you a Visa debit card.
Okay.
And what you do is you set up a US bank account on Wise. You can have a Canadian one, you can have whatever, Mexican too, and all that.
Yeah.
And then you set up your Stripe to get US funds. And then you can also do Canadian funds too for Canadians, but if you're getting US, people get US dollars too.
Hmm.
And then they pay you in US dollars. And then your Stripe takes the US dollars or Canadian dollars. You can have two, I think, on Stripe. And
Okay.
then from Stripe, you send it to your Wise account. And then you can just use your Wise Visa debit as your payment. Like if you want to buy stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, so that's how you get US dollars. But that's if you want to pay for things in US dollars.
Yeah.
But you can also just you transfer your money from US dollars to Wise in US dollars, and then you can convert it to Canadian. And I think Wise generally has the best conversion as well,
Okay.
right? Way better than your bank and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
And so all you do, and you don't even have to transfer it, it just automatically will convert it if you buy
Yeah.
something in Canada, right? Or you could just do a big conversion at once if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can hold your US dollars while Canadian dollars inflate and US dollars kind of stay, they're still inflating, but not as much.
Yeah.
So you can hold a little bit of wealth there, and then if you need to, you can convert or whatever you want to do, right? So
Love it.
that's how you do it. Um,
Give me a lot to think about, man.
but yeah, I don't know if this is going on YouTube, but if you want to do like an actual call, like a free quote unquote coaching call with me,
Yeah,
we can set that up if you want.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just like the overall strategy on LinkedIn or Facebook or even in general, like your Instagram strategy is pretty much the same thing, except
Yeah.
you're going to use ads instead of organic,
Organic
right?
and connections. Yeah.
Because Instagram organic is awful, but their boosting is probably the best right now.
It is, eh? Okay. It's,
$10, $15 a day. Yeah, but you need to have a system in place before you start spending money.
of
Otherwise, you're
course.
just going to be
Yeah.
burning
Don't
the
just
money,
throw
right?
money at the problem.
Yeah. So like 600, like it might take you, usually it takes people a couple, 2, 3 months to kind of figure it out. So maybe 600 to $900 to figure it out. But
Yeah.
once you kind of have it figured out, you should have like a 5 to 20 times return on your ad spend,
There you go.
which
Yeah.
is, I mean, one client, I don't know how much your one-on-one is, but like if it's like 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, whatever, I mean,
Yeah.
one client's going to pay for it, right?
Easy.
So
Easy.
like, yeah, it's really easy right now. Not easy, but it's a simple
Yeah.
strategy on Instagram, but you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Organic isn't going to do it. But LinkedIn and Facebook profile can be organic,
Yeah.
no problem. And you can make easily 10, 20, 30,000 a month if you do it. And
Yeah.
that's the thing too, like you mentioned earlier. That's the strategy. That's a 6, 7 figure dollar strategy right there.
Yeah.
But nobody's doing it. Every coaching program is pretty much teaching that strategy. But I mean, they have their own way. Like, oh, you need a CRM. You have to pay us to get a CRM to set that up for you. You need automation software, and you have to buy a program we'll set that up for you. But
Too
it's the
much
same thing.
information. Yeah.
It's the same thing, right? Or whatever it is. But buy a. I'll show you how to do the ad if you don't know how to do the ad. But like, you're just paying people to give you support,
Mm.
because like obviously it's not going to work out flawlessly the first time you do it.
Of course not. Yeah.
But that's the essential strategy is
So
pick a
really
channel.
having all those different channels, but the main thing is having a game plan, knowing your audience,
Yeah,
knowing your
there's a
offer.
there's an overall strategy, and then you work backwards.
Mhm.
We can do this later, but yeah, you
Yeah.
work backwards, and then you pick where are my clients. Like you have to know who your clients are.
Yeah.
Find out where they are. Right? If you're looking for 65-year-old and older who are trying to do some kind of retirement financial strategy, they're not going to be on TikTok,
No.
right? So, you want to find yellow pages or the local whatever they're called, wherever the old people go, right? You got to find them, right?
All
So
folks bulletins, yeah.
in your case, anything's fine, really. And then, yeah, and each platform has pros and cons. There's no such thing as the best. And then you just figure out, okay, Instagram boosting is probably the best on Instagram, so you got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Or you do the same exact thing on LinkedIn organically. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
The content's the same, the strategy's the same. Yeah, so yeah,
Well, that
there you go.
was a
Business
lot.
owners.
That was a lot, man. And I appreciate that, brother. That's kind of why I wanted to have the back end just kind of opened up and just talk about the community itself, what you've been doing,
Yeah.
what you've seen work in the past. So
Yeah.
I
But another
appreciate
thing is that you mentioned with the testosterone,
it.
because that's really important. I want to emphasize that. I don't know if anyone's going to see this, but it's really important just to get off my chest
I'm
too.
putting it up.
I
Absolutely.
was I was thinking
Absolutely.
about this on my walk this morning. I was getting quite emotional. I'm like, because I was watching an interview from a guy who I highly respect. And he's a doctor too, and he actually does prescriptions for testosterone in the United States. And he thinks like me, right? And he's like, yeah, like what's normal, right? When a man comes to me, and I don't know what the numbers are for testosterone, so
Yeah.
don't yell at me, but I'm
No,
just
that
giving
was a
you
great
examples.
point though. Once you said it, I
Yeah,
was like, you know what?
yeah.
That's so
So,
true. Who says
so
that this is normal?
yeah, well, man does. There's
Yeah.
no, I mean, God may or may not exist. I don't know, but like man says this is what's normal based
Mhm.
on what? Based on what we say is normal.
Yeah.
Based on what? Based on these measurements. And so what's normal? How do you know what's normal? Based on what? And how do you know that when you measure something, it's valid, right?
Yeah.
So here's my pencil. So if I go to you and say, Cody, can you please tell me how long my pencil is? You're going to get a ruler and say, well, it's about 7 inches.
Yeah.
And I say, how do you know that? Well, the ruler says 7 inches. How do you know the ruler is accurate?
Yeah.
Um,
You don't.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
You
assume
go
it's
off it
accurate. I
blindly,
mean,
right?
yeah, why would they make a non-accurate ruler?
Yeah.
Well, how do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know? How do you know? Right? And all of a sudden it's just like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? So even if you have these things, like what's the standard for accuracy? How do you verify that? Do you have a ruler that's 100% perfect in inches and then they make, you know, base it off that?
Did they
But
have a
then how do you know
master
that one
ruler?
is accurate, right? So like, you know, so
Yeah.
like when you measure things, like how do you know that's accurate,
Yeah.
right? When the cop checks your speed, how do you know it's calibrated properly? How do you know he knows how to use it properly,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
So like they've been sued and gone to court many times over that, and
Mhm.
so they've had to change their policies to make sure they don't get caught up in that too, right?
Calibrating it properly on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you look at especially psychological problems.
Mhm.
Um, like let's just say, for example, I'm a 7-year-old boy in class and I'm fidgeting and I'm like, I'm going like this. What's the teacher going to say? Oh, Tristan seems to be suffering some problems. You should go to a doctor. Doctor is going to be like, well, you can't sit still for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh,
You have
that's a symptom
ADHD.
of ADHD.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe Tristan doesn't like to do what he's told. Yeah, he has some kind of ADHD. Well, let's see. What's another symptom of ADHD? Getting angry at authority,
Mhm.
right? Oh, well, he does that too. Well, here's 12 different drugs that Tristan needs to take to get off to make him become normal.
Normal.
Yeah,
Yep.
but what's normal about sitting in a classroom, shutting up and listening to a teacher drone about something and
Exactly.
he,
Yeah.
what is normal? Tell me what normal is. Isn't normal going out and playing when you're a kid,
Exploring, learning in a
Yeah.
certain way.
I
I
mean,
actually went through this firsthand. My
yeah.
nephew did the exact same thing. He was fidgeting in class, being disruptive, didn't want to sit still. Oh, now he's been diagnosed with ADHD. Here's all these medications.
Nonsense,
And,
nonsense.
and
Yeah.
I said the same thing. And I told my sister, I said, this is ridiculous. He's
Yeah.
a kid. He wants to go out. He wants to build stuff. He wants to break stuff.
Yeah.
He wants to learn, but not
hmm
sit still in a classroom
hmm
and talk about something that he's never going to have
Yeah.
interest in learning.
The
Right?
that's the non-normal thing is sitting in a classroom, shutting up and not talking to your friends beside you and listening to
Exactly.
the teacher, doing what you're told. That's not normal.
No,
But
that's,
yet we're being told that's normal, right? So
yeah.
we're normalizing the non-normal or false normalization.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
um and then yeah, you look at testosterone 50 years ago, it was probably twice as high as it is today.
Yeah,
But look at autism 50 years ago, it didn't exist
it
really.
exists.
Today, it's like 50% of people or something ridiculous, right?
Yep.
But you have to watch out. People will say, but Tristan, we're getting better at diagnosing these things. We're getting more accurate testing.
Mhm.
Hold on a second. What does that mean? Accurate based on what?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And that's just an excuse that sounds good to normalize the non-normal. That's all it is.
Oh, absolutely. It
So
is for sure.
when you say, oh, ADHD is getting better diagnosing, better testing, more accurate testing, that's why there's more ADHD kids. That's all.
Yeah.
Oh, based on what? Who said that?
Mhm.
And then how do you know that's normal and not? How many ADHD should there be? Based on what? You know?
Yeah, well, and how do you know the agenda behind that as well, right? Because
Well,
what
that's the real thing too.
we diagnose, oh, all
Who
these kids have ADHD. Here's a pill. Here's another
who
medication.
yeah, who determines what ADHD is?
Yeah,
Find who determines that,
yeah.
and then find out who makes the ADHD pills. I wonder if there's a
There's
overlap.
probably a connection. There's
All
probably
right.
a connection.
Once you have a diagnosis of a psychological disorder, you are a customer for life for pharmaceutical companies,
Absolutely.
whether it's real or not.
Yep.
So, and then of course, one drug isn't enough because that drug is going to cause side effects.
Yep.
What's a side effect? There's no such thing as a side effect. A drug has multiple effects,
Mhm.
the intended effect and non-intended effects.
Yeah.
And those are called side effects.
Side
Does
effects.
that make sense? And so, so if you like, I don't know an example, but like you drink a lot of salt for some reason,
Mhm.
right? It's going to have an effect, which is fine, but then you're going to be thirsty.
Yeah.
That's a side effect, right? But it's like your intended effect was to whatever, what I don't know. But
Yeah.
like that's normal. It's like how to say it? It's like drugs are not specific. They're not going to do one thing for you, even though that's what they claim they're supposed to do. They're
Yeah.
going to have side effects. They're going to have multiple things, but we dismiss them, calling them, well, it's just a side effect.
Yeah.
Right?
Very true.
Well, that now you have chronic headaches. Oh, it's just a side effect.
Yeah.
Nothing
All
wrong
you
with
have to
that.
deal
We'll
with
give you
that.
some pills for that.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. It's not normal.
Oh, it's like with blood pressure medication. Like
Yeah.
I've had family members who've
Well,
gone on it and they go, "Oh, well, now you have low blood pressure, but now you're nauseous all the time. You have headaches. You have to
mhm.
drink so often every single day." It's like, well, here's this litany of things to solve this one
Yeah.
problem.
So the average person, once you get on a single drug, I forget what it is, but it's like it's 12 is average for people. Like if you have one, you need 12. And
Yeah.
also testing, if you look at the testing of these things,
Mhm.
oh, it's what a scam. Look at the methodology, look at the control groups, if there are any.
Yeah,
No one that ever looks at this stuff, right?
very much.
My doctor says it's safe, so go look at the methodology.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. They take this stuff and like, the conclusion is, there could be some effect of this. We don't really know, but
yeah.
it's
There's
taken
some
as
sort of a
there is an
correlation.
effect, and then now it's prescribed to everybody, right?
Yeah.
And then and another thing is each of these drugs is tested by itself, but they're never tested together.
Yes.
So if you're taking high blood pressure medication and antidepressants,
Yeah.
no one on earth knows what's going to happen to you.
Yeah. Until you take them both and go, oh, okay,
Yeah,
this
you're a
is not
walking
right for me.
experiment. And
Yes.
then so now you're suffering from migraines, and now you're suffering from whatever, and you have cancer and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think is going to happen when you're taking a bunch of experimental pills with questionable histories and experimentation and studies, and you put them all together into a big pot? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, it's just
Right.
like all the kids nowadays that are getting prescribed ADHD medication. Do we really know the long-term effects of all these medications on kids? Developmental effects have getting them on too early? You know
Well,
what I mean?
another question is, well, I had a high school friend, and her daughter she has social anxiety, whatever that means, and she was put on drugs. And I'm like, did her social anxiety come from not having this drug in her system? And she's like, well, no, because what that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, okay, so why is she on that drug? Is it
Yeah.
going to cure her social anxiety? Right? Well, no. So, you know what I mean? So like oh, I have ADHD. Why do I have ADHD? Well, because I don't have this drug. I'm not taking this drug. Is that doesn't make any sense, right? And so you're taking these drugs that are not the actual cause of why you have this problem,
Yeah.
if it's a problem anyway. And so it's not going to cure you. And so you're going to be a lifelong person on this drug, right? It's not a cure.
No, and then you become reliant on it, and that's just who you are. I need to take
Yeah.
this every single day, or else I can't function,
And
or I
so
can't be my
people,
normal
yeah,
self.
people on statins for cholesterol, I challenge you to go, if you're on statins, I challenge you to go do some research on what it actually does to you, because
Exactly.
you're gonna get off it right away. And then people on antidepressants, I challenge you to read just one study on antidepressants
Yep.
and tell me what the results were. And you're gonna be like, Tristan, there were no results. Why am I on this thing?
Yeah.
That's why I told you to
Results
read
are
it.
inconclusive.
The
Say
results
the
were we
best.
didn't notice any change with the placebo and the drug. Why are
Yep.
you on it? And yeah, and then show me any study that has all the drugs that you're on at the same time. There aren't any.
There won't be a
So,
study like that.
and then yeah, and then not only that, but like a lot of these studies or drugs are based on past studies of things,
Yeah.
but those past studies are assumed to be true,
Mhm.
and so they're building up years and
False
decades.
narrative on
Yeah.
assumed
So
positive results
if
from
you like, I
past.
don't want to say the certain word because it'll get everything banned, but there's a
Yeah.
certain thing that you may put into your body through a needle.
Yep.
And if you look throughout history, or you look at all the studies done, they refer back to other studies.
Yep.
And you look at those studies, they refer back to other studies. If you follow the rabbit hole, the first study ever, well, I think it was 1954,
Yeah.
and you read it, and the person said, we think there's something that starts with a V, but we
Yeah.
don't really know that it exists.
We may
And
get cut off here, Tristan, just to let you know.
yeah, that's fine. If you take this off YouTube, that's fine. Do you know how
Yeah.
to do that? Like
Yeah.
CapCut or something? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, but if you actually do it, it's like, we don't know if it exists, but we're going to say that it does, and we're going to give it these characteristics.
Hmm.
And and then everything's based on that, but everything's flawed because it's based off of, I
False
just,
assumption.
I just made it up, right?
Yeah.
So, but because it's been referred over the decades and no one ever looks back on it, it's
Yeah.
taken as true, right? So it's very interesting when you start peeling back all this stuff. It's not just with the V word, but with everything else.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like,